Hello, 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 everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Matthew Terry, founder and CEO of Suade, and welcome to season two of People in Sales, Not Salespeople, a podcast where we analyze the person behind the salesperson. And I am super honored and glad to have Martin MacArthur, the Outbound Sales Guy, with us today. How are you doing, Martin?
I'm very good. I'm just going to correct you, Matthew. It's Martin MacArthur. You're pretty close.
Okay, Martin MacArthur.
But yeah, man, I'm stoked to be here and thank you for having me.
Yeah, for sure. Super excited to have you on and hear more of your story. We got acquainted on LinkedIn and had a really strong but short conversation last week. And I started the conversation off by asking him why he does what he does. And I love asking people this question to understand sort of the heart behind the job that they're doing. Everybody has a different story, and Martin's is very unique. So I'd like to start with that question and maybe even a bit further. Tell us what you do and then go into why you do it.
For sure. As you said, I'm recently, it's still not official, but not official. I'm the head of sales for the SD Lab, an outbound sales agency. And my responsibility is overseeing our outbound sales development as a service division, if you will. And the reason why I'm tasked with that is because I've been a part of a few different outbound sales agencies, even my own, over the past 5-ish, 7 years, something like that. But I've also been in the outbound sales space for going on 15 years and made over 250,000 cold calls, talked to every type of business owner, every type of company, every space below from SMB to mid market. So I don't do enterprise. That's just not my jam. But that's what I do, and why I do it is I really enjoy talking to people, even though it's getting tougher because people would rather just hide behind a screen and let the AI bots do everything for them on autopilot. But I still enjoy just having a natural conversation. I'm very curious, and I always find I walk away from a conversation learning something, and that's really why I do what I do, and mostly I my mantra or my why, if you will, has always been to positively impact everyone that I come into contact with, and I think I do a really good job of that, and I try and do that over the phone, even though I only have anywhere from 5 seconds to maybe 2 minutes to accomplish that, but I try my very best on the phone, and then for people that are connected with me or see me on LinkedIn, interact with me on Zoom or know me in person, that's really the why behind what I do.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. Positively impacting everyone that you're around and gifting them your presence, your knowledge, your know-how, anything you can do to help impact their day. I
Yeah,
like that.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because like at the end of the day, I want to get a meeting with the person, right? Because that's obviously we're not a nonprofit. We want revenue and we want business, but I just think if you can have a good conversation with somebody, you can learn something from that call and take it forward, and they can learn something, then you're doing something good.
Yeah. And it's our job as salespeople to educate, to be that advisor and sage to come alongside the customer's journey and help them through whatever they're working on, whether it's personal or professional. Being a good listener and adding value to somebody's life is going to be really the best way to, at least my opinion, is the best way to go about sales and customer conversations. You are in a unique situation, reading your LinkedIn, and also what I learned from you last meeting is I'll let you tell the story about your health predicament and how you were able to overcome that and still be the person you are today and the person who loves conversations. So I'd love to just dive into that story too, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's totally is. I'm an open book, so I'm very transparent. So for your audience who may have not viewed my profile or were not connected on LinkedIn, the I think it's the very first sentence of my bio on LinkedIn is I'm totally blind. And I have been since about I was diagnosed with juvenile retinitis pigmentosa at the age of 7. And that's why I like being in outbound sales, being on the phone. It's just a good fit because you don't need your site to talk to people. It is challenging when it comes to the operational side of things, the technology side of things. A lot of the sales tools, they just simply don't work for me because they're not built for me, right? And I'm a very unique, as far as I know, a unique one-off case. And I understand tools are built for the masses. They're not built for specific use cases. There's a lot of frustration in my day-to-day because I'm a very independent person. And when I can't accomplish something, I get annoyed with it and have to rely on someone else to dig in and help me out. And then find out, okay, even though someone else has helped set it up, I still can't use it. So it creates a challenge, but it is that's the challenge. But I feel my blindness has helped me be the person that I am, and that's something that I'm very proud about. And secondly, yeah, to your point, my health situation, I recently in July had a kidney transplant surgery. I was diagnosed 6 years ago with a severe kidney disease and had no idea that I had it, but just went for a routine checkup with my family doctor. And she says she took some blood work and routine blood work, whatnot. She said afterwards, I'm sending you to a nephrologist because your kidneys are failing.
Oh no.
And that led me down a very long journey with nephrologists and nurses and so forth. And 3 years ago, I was placed on peritoneal dialysis, which is a very invasive process. It literally ties you down to home because you have to be on there by a certain time. If you're not, then it just messes up. Like they program the machine so you have to complete it within a over a certain course of time, and if you can't miss it and all this stuff. But the biggest thing is that it just being when your kidneys are failing, you're you have literally no energy because you're basically that dialysis is supporting your kidney function. But before surgery, I was down to 3% kidney function, which is basically nothing. Without the support of dialysis, I wouldn't. Someone with that kind of kidney function would not survive. But fortunately, my oldest sister stepped up. Both my sisters stepped up to see if they could be a donor, and my middle sister was a good donor, but then she developed blood clots, and the transplant team will not put a patient in at any kind of risk. So my oldest sister, she got tested, she was a good match, and now I'm pretty well fully recovered from surgery. I had it July 4th, and I've got tons of energy. I feel the best I have in probably like 10 years, and it's just honestly a fully new release on life, and I couldn't be happier to be able to say that.
Yeah, yeah. Congratulations and God bless, man. That's just such a strenuous situation to both have the blindness and also the kidney malfunction hitting you.
Yep.
That's really hard, but you're here, you're back. And I just read on your LinkedIn profile, you made 170 calls, you talked to 10 people, you booked one meeting. To anyone out there struggling with calls, struggling with picking up the phone, listen to Martin's story. That's for inspiration.
And I also do some video content as well. So there's really nothing stopping you if like fear is not something I believe in.
Yeah.
It's just not a part of like fear and no are not a part of my vocabulary. So it's if I can't figure it out, I keep trying and trying until I find a way. And if I can't find a way, then I get help
Yeah.
finding a different solution.
I love that. Fear and no are not a part of your vocabulary. All right. Let's go. So,
Uh,
250 cold calls in the small and medium businesses.
yeah.
You've been in sales for around 15K. Talk to me briefly about your journey into sales. What was that starting moment where you're like, what? Sales seems like it'd be something interesting for me to do.
Yeah, I would say probably about the second year of my second SDR gig. It was with a managed IT service provider. They really invested in my training in terms of molding me into a sales development rep. how to use the phone, how to speak to people, because my original SDR gig was with a very small company, like no training,
Mm,
nothing in place. They just said, here's a phone, here's what we want you to say, and go do it. You
mm,
go find the numbers, go find the leads. So there was nothing there. And so I did that for about a year, I think it was. And then I had a little experience. I came across this company. It seemed really cool what they were doing. I thought, why not? I'll apply and see what happens. So I got a job with them. And the first year was challenging. It was talking to business owners, IT leaders about technology. And I didn't really at that time have a ton of experience with technology. So it was a big learning curve.
mhm.
And I would say the first 8 months of that position, I just really had a lot of self-confidence. Wasn't too sure about sorry, not self-confidence, and insecurity. I
Yeah,
wasn't too sure
I
about
get.
myself.
Mhm.
I was thinking like, man, am I even going to be here next week, next month, that type of stuff. And unfortunately, the management, they've worked with me, and it was like I think the second year in that position, things just started to seem to really come natural, and I was starting to blow up the leaderboard and working with more AEs, and it was collaborative, and just everything seemed to really start to click and become so much easier. And then that company, they grew really fast, really quickly, and there were a lot of redundancies and a lot of layoffs and so forth. And I was a part of that, and I bounced around for a while, and I just got got connected with somebody, and they said, why don't you meet this person? They're starting up an outbound sales agency. Maybe we could use your expertise and so forth. And it just really evolved from there, going from a couple other agencies to do my own thing, and then landing at the SD lab a year ago.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a good story. And shout out to the first or second firm for sticking with you and giving you the training that you need, because that's
Yeah.
really impactful. So it's also a case study right there. All right. So a lot of people nowadays are saying, oh, cold calling is dead. People don't pick up the phone. It's impossible to book meetings, blah, 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 blah. Tell us, is cold calling dead in your opinion?
No, it is not. Is it tougher than it was a year ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 12 years ago? Yes, absolutely. But is it dead? Is it going away? No. I strongly believe it is not, because the main benefit of cold calling or having a live conversation with somebody is the real-time feedback that you get from that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Am I talking to the right person? Is my message resonating? Person have a problem that we can help solve right now, or are they looking at our solution to help them in 3, 6, 9, 12 months, whatever the case might be? Those are those are valuable insights that you cannot get from sending email,
Mm-hmm.
because just forget all the nuances of email recently, but deliverability and so forth. But if you're sending out, let's say I send you an email because you're a founder, I send you an email, but maybe I don't have maybe the message that I've got in that email, you don't even, it's not even applicable to you, or you don't even check your email, or maybe it got logged in your deleted items or your spam filter or what have you. Now you're waiting on a response. Well, I sent Matthew an email last week. He hasn't gotten back to me.
I guess it's not
Well,
interesting.
if you pick up the phone and you call, yeah, maybe you don't answer. Or maybe you do answer and now, hey Matt, I sent you an email last week, but blah blah blah. Did you have a chance to look at that? You're gonna say, oh, I never even got that email. What's it about? Or I did and I just didn't get a chance to respond, or all these different things. Cold call's not dead. It has evolved. And yeah, prospects are they're tougher to get a hold of, because for some reason they're just like reps, they're afraid of picking up the phone. Oh goodness, someone wants to sell me something, I don't know how to respond, I don't want to answer. Just come on, answer the phone. And if you don't want to take a meeting, you don't want to talk to the person, whatever, just say no, I'm not interested, don't call me again. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't understand sometimes. But no, to answer your question, cold calling is not gonna die. It's not dead. It's just you got to get a lot better at it.
Yeah, it's evolved. You may have less connects, but those connects are super important and you got to treat them well. And I
Yep.
do love what you said about what I call instant market feedback.
Yeah.
On the call, you get to give your pitch and you get to hear if people are saying oohs and ahs to what you're saying, or if they're not interested, you can hear that in their tone about what they're interested in and what they're not interested in. So that instant market feedback is absolutely huge when it comes to cold call.
Exactly. And I'll give you a great example. I had a conversation with a prospect earlier before getting on here with you. And it was not a good fit. But instead of just the person saying, no, I'm not interested, I was able to dig in a little bit more. He he was actually receptive. He gave a little bit of insight into why he wasn't interested, why it's not a good fit. But if you just send an email or whatever, how will you find any of that information out, right? And
Yeah, you
yeah,
open up
that
the email.
then
I'm not interested because this and that. No, they're not going to type that out.
exactly like they're just going to hit delete, right?
Exactly.
But no, man, it's a great channel. It's a very useful channel, and yeah, obviously we believe in it here
Yeah,
at the
right,
SD
right. But it's
Lab.
definitely, yeah, it's not dead. It's not dead. It's evolved as time and
Yeah,
the markets evolve. So it's better for some industries, worse for others. But in general, people are still picking up the phone
yeah,
and people are still willing to book meetings over the phone. So not dead.
yeah.
Now, you're back in action, kicking off the rust and relearning those cold call best practices. I want to dive into the script, dive into the strategy that you use to actually cold call. So let's just start at the beginning. What do you use or how do you open up a cold call? They pick up, what do you say and why?
Yep. So I mix it up a bit, but the one that I've been using lately is, "Hey Matthew, how's your day going so far?"
Going great.
And what I like about that is it catches the person off guard a little bit because they're like, "Who is this?" As opposed to like saying, "Hey, is this Matthew?" Because that just instantly screams sales call
Mm.
or this person doesn't know me.
Yeah.
And if isn't the right person, they're going to say right away. Like I had this happen to me the other day. I can't honestly think of the person's name, and it's irrelevant, but it was a male's name.
Hmm.
And I say, "Hey, prospect, how's your day going so far?" And a female responded. She said, "Not even the right person. You don't have the right number."
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Move on. Move on to
Hmm.
the next call. It's just I find it's a nice little way to catch the prospect off guard. And then when they do say how they're doing or what's going well or what have you, I'll say, "Great to hear." Or sometimes they'll ask me, "How's it's going well, you?" And now we're just going back and forth. And then I'll introduce hey, it's Martin MacArthur over at the SD Lab. I'm not sure if you're familiar with us by chance. And I have a little pause there to let that resonate because I most likely know that they have no clue who we are or what we do. But again, it's a nice little pattern interrupt because now they're thinking, "Oh, do I know this company? Maybe,
Hmm.
no, don't know." Or sometimes I'll hear them pounding on the keyboard to search who we are. So that's a good opener, and then it leads into we're an outbound sales agency, and then I'm into my pitch. So that's been working really well.
I like that.
There's you've probably seen on LinkedIn this whole debate over permission-based openers, PBOs, non-PBOs. I don't care. Do whatever works for you. However is going to sound the most natural to you to open up a cold call, do that. Like I don't care if you're yay or nay on them. Like it doesn't matter. Just whatever is most natural and comfortable to you. Because
Yeah.
if you're trying to force force something, it's not going to sound very good.
Never just start talking, right? So
No, 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 no,
never
no.
just say, "Hi, this is Matt with Suade. We do this and that." Not
Watch your hang up rate skyrocket.
right, right, skyrocket, exactly.
Yeah,
But some sort of soft, "How are you? Do you have 30 seconds?" This or that. It's
yeah.
just That's a nice way to open up the conversation. Okay.
Yep.
That's good. I appreciate those insights. And then navigating the conversation, you give the pitch. Obviously, if they say yes, you book a time. But then most of the time, you probably hear some sort of objections. What are
Yep.
the, let's start with what are the top objections that you're hearing right now when you cold call?
Yeah. So because we're an outbound sales agency, there's three I would say that are very prevalent right now. One is we're all set, which is you tends to be a brush off. I got a ton of those yesterday, and I try to be like, "Oh, that's great to hear you're all set," but usually they're gone by the time you're trying to dig, right? Because it really is just a brush off. They probably don't even know what the hell outbound sales is, or they're probably just doing referrals, or it depends. But like that to me is a brush off. So I'll try and oh, that's great to hear that you're doing great, and then I'll try and follow up with another question just to get them talking more. Another objection that we get a lot is, excuse me, is we worked with an agency in the past and had a terrible experience. And that is a very common, unfortunately, very common occurrence. You gotta try and the way I like to navigate that one is lead with, hey, let the person know I hear them. Totally understand. Sorry to hear that you had a poor experience last time with an agency. Unfortunately, we hear that far too common, right? Because now you're letting them know, hey, I totally hear you, and I understand where you're coming from. And unfortunately, you're not alone. And this is how we are different. And I'd like to tell you a bit more about that.
Mhm.
That usually is a good way to handle that. And then the other objection that we get a lot is we can hire somebody internally and to do the job. Yeah, you can, but it's going to cost you a lot more than partnering with us or partnering with someone else.
Right.
That's just facts. If you know the space at all, when you factor in the cost of tools, hiring somebody, unless you're going offshore, you got all,
Benefits to all the
sorry?
all the healthcare and benefits that you
Exactly, yeah. So I try and educate them how that's going to cost them more opposed to a solution like ours. Those are the three main objections that we get. And probably a fourth because I got this a couple times yesterday and past week as well as pricing. But I usually find that's mostly because they're just really not all that interested to begin with. So they're just looking to see how much it is. It is, and I'm very transparent. Like, I'll tell them it's going to cost you this,
Mhm.
and why. I'll try and share why it will cost them this.
Mhm. So you do
But
discuss pricing over the cold call.
if they're looking for it, like I'm not going to shy away from it, but I also won't go into it like
Let
unless
them
they'll say what's your pricing or. And then another objection that is common in our space and that we hear a lot too is, well, we only do pay per performance, and we don't do that. So that to us, that's a huge red flag. We won't even keep the
know. Mhm.
conversation going.
Yeah.
That's a non-negotiable for us.
Yeah, that's just not a good model.
Yep.
Because you even learn things when you get the no's too, and that's what a
Uh,
lot
It, it,
of from you.
exactly.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. People. I was talking with somebody on LinkedIn yesterday, I think maybe it was, about this as well. Is people will see when I share. You referenced one of my posts earlier about the number of calls and the outcomes and so forth. People will see that I have a lot of no's, but those no's are extremely valuable because like I'm gaining information from those no's. A lot of them are just no. Okay, have a nice day. Like when I get a no, I'm digging into to find out why is that a no.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's a valid reason why it's not a good, why it's a no and not a good fit. Other times they won't let you dig in and okay, we'll call back at a later date maybe.
Right.
So
Yeah, not a good time for the company or just not the right prospect to call, but a lot of times you can and do have permission to dig in if the person picks up the phone. Because if they pick up the phone, they're going to say something. They're going to talk. It's not like you're going to pick up the phone when you're in the middle of something extremely important, right? You picked up the
exactly.
phone, you got a second to talk. So let's learn a bit about who you're speaking about, why they say no, why their condition is what it is. Totally agree.
And my philosophy has always been, I'll keep on pushing until you give me like a firm no.
Mm-hmm. To like,
If they say no, we don't have budget, or that can be a bit of a different one too. But if you give you a legitimate reason why it's not a good fit, okay, we'll move on. But
mm-hmm.
a lot of those no's are just what I call reflexes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, oh, this person's trying to sell me something, like, and then
Yep,
just say anything to get them off the phone. It's like,
that's
no,
right.
let's help them understand. The way I like to overcome objections is go the empathetic route. I totally understand. I get you. And then go the sympathetic route where it's a lot of organizations are in your same place. They're also set. They're also doing fine with outbound. But the thing is, you can increase it by 2x if you really consider what I had to say. I would love to talk about that. Something of the sort.
Yeah.
Totally understand you. People are in your same position, but here's the thing.
Yep.
Yeah, and go into that. So yeah. So that's good. Appreciate your insights there. The next topic I wanted to discuss was training. When it comes
Yeah.
to sales training, what are some things that people should look out for when teaching somebody new how to cold call?
Yeah, so I would say the biggest thing would be how receptive they are to, or maybe not receptive is the right word, but how willing they are to make those calls, right? Because yeah, there's going to be a little bit of hesitation to start with. There's going to be a little bit of fear, even though I don't believe in that, but there will be some fear from somebody. Like, what if all this stuff? How willing are you to actually pick up the phone and face the rejection and hang up and being cussed by somebody and all these things? So that's the first thing. Secondly, the personality. What's your personality and demeanor? Are you tense and uptight when you're calling? Because I used to be this way. I just, as soon as I'd start calling, I'd just, for some reason, I don't know why it was, but I would just get so anxious and uptight. And then that comes through on the phone too, right? Like your whole tone changes. That's another thing. And just what's your body language, even though you're not face to face with the person, are you in a good space, both mentally, but physically? Are you in a quiet space? Have you removed all the distractions? If you do get a connect, are you giving that person their full undivided attention? Not navigating 30 different things and talking to that person, not listening to them. Another thing is how well do you listen? Are
Mm-hmm.
you actively listening, or are you cutting that person off mid-sentence, and are you distracted? Or so those are a few. Another thing is how do you communicate? Are you coming across natural, like how you would talk maybe to a colleague or a friend, or are you like coming across super professional? Because for me, when I'm cold calling, and even with that opener I shared a few minutes ago, I just talk the same as though you and I met out on the street or in a pub. I'm not, oh, it's not professional, right? It's not, I just don't think you have to be super over the top professional when you're calling. Maybe if you're calling like a Fortune 5,000 company, maybe because that's a different conversation. But when you're calling a startup, you're calling a mid-market company, like you just be relaxed, be
Mm.
natural. So
Yeah.
those are
Stay
some
up
of
and
the,
dial, right?
yeah,
And that
because
really works. You put a smile on
it,
your face, it comes out in your tone.
exactly, like there's times when I can sense I'm low energy, and like that comes across in your tone.
Mm.
So like your tonality matters, your pitch matters, and your pace matters. Slow it down, be clear, be concise, be calm, and just be natural. If you keep those in mind, you're gonna do okay.
I like that. Tonality, pitch, and pace. Those are the three things you need to balance and you need to maneuver into the right positions to get to a place where you're successfully cold calling. I like it.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah. And again, I really like how you said when you're tense and you're uptight, it could come out of your tone. And I really want to emphasize that point your demeanor comes out in your tone. So if you have a relaxed demeanor, if you're smiling, if you're in a positive attitude, that's going to come out over the phone and you're going to start seeing yourself have more wins. And if you're uptight, if you don't want to do it, if you're dreary, if you're just, okay, let me make 100 calls and put the phone down, then it's going to come out in your tone. And people
Yeah.
aren't going to book as many meetings.
Yeah, like find a way to get yourself amped up. You don't have to go smash things or
Slammer, cars, all right, drink some Red Bull.
yeah, have 3, 4 Red Bull, yeah, you'll be
Exactly.
good.
And then just make a few $100.
Yeah, but if you're into some type of heavy, for me, I like to listen to some rock music before I
Okay.
make dials. This morning, like I blasted out 5K on the treadmill. I got the blood going. I got my energy. Now, when I started calling because I did 5K, I was lower energy. But
Okay. I'm just imagining somebody walking briskly, huffing and puffing, making cold calls. How you doing today, sir? He comes out over there over the phone. That'd be an interesting sales approach. Maybe people
yeah.
respond.
But like last week, I was calling for my deck, right? Because it was nice out.
Right.
I've been sitting in the gazebo, I was relaxed. It was just whatever. I had some good conversations, but that's the other thing too. Is like, don't be afraid to like mix up your workspace too. Like if you're like myself who's remote, which I think a lot of people still are, go sit on the deck or go to a coffee shop, go to a co-working space if that helps. Just whatever it is that's going to put you in that good mindset.
Yeah. Second question around training, a little bit more on the darker side, but I think a lot of people, it'll help a lot of trainers out there. How do you know when cold calling just isn't working out for somebody? What is that line when you're like, okay, maybe this person isn't working out?
Yeah, look at the activity, look at your reporting and your metrics. That's going to give you a good sign right off the bat because if they're not doing anything or it's low, what have you, then there's probably a sign here, and we need to have a talk with the rep to find out what's going on. Why aren't you? Where's the activity? Why is that not happening? Is it something personal? Is it just you're not happy here? You don't want to do this. You got to dig in to find out what the underlying issue is because there's probably something going on that's causing this person from not wanting to call and pick up the phone. So I would say that is you got to figure out what the issue is. Is it management? Is it the environment? Is it the rep? Is it personal? Just dig in and find out, and then you can go from there.
Gotcha. So that one KPI is the activity. Are they making X amount of dials in an hour or in a day? However
Yep,
you track it. But make sure you have some sort of KPI that your reps have to hit or go above and continue to monitor that. So
correct.
that's
Yep.
good. That's good. Second to last question before we wrap things up here, and it's alongside the training topic. It's about culture. What do you think about culture in sales, and how do you really develop that in an outbound sales agency, especially a remote one?
Yeah, I've worked this. This is probably my second agency working remote, and having Slack is a great one, right? Because you're able to keep that communication ongoing. So it's great to check in on everybody. I'm going back to my why, right? Positively impacting everyone is checking on everyone like how's your day going? Just letting them know I'm here for you. That's a big help because being remote it can be tough, especially when you're calling all day and you're getting rejection after rejection and or you may not be getting a lot of pickups that day. It can be challenging. So I think that's a big thing is it's having the live communication through Slack or Teams or whatever that tool is for you. The other thing is having a virtual sales floor. So I think, and I could be wrong, but I think pretty well all the dialers that there now have some sort of virtual sales floor. Here at the SD Lab, we have Nooks. The team's able to jump on there and you can do power hours and make it fun. Like just have it a little competitive, but and have some. I'm a big one about a big person about banter and I'm very sarcastic. So just having that camaraderie in the on the sales floor in the environment as well helps. And then another thing that we do here at the SD Lab, and it was also big at my other company too, is meeting weekly. So getting on Zoom, meeting weekly, just so that everyone knows what's going on. If there are any issues, then let's take it off Zoom and have a one-on-one chat. And then you also have your weekly one-on-ones with leadership. So making sure that the team knows, hey, anything you say is this is a safe space. Like if there's an issue, whether it's personal or it's work, whatever the case is, you can come to me and we'll do our best to find a solution. So I
Yeah.
think those are some great ways that you can instill a really good culture for a remote team, but also be a team that's doing outbound.
I'm really happy some of these dialers have implemented the virtual work floors and tried to replicate the in-person environment online. I think that's super
Yep.
smart and nothing wrong with a little healthy competition. And last but not
And,
least,
and the other thing is like when everyone, if one rep gets a win, celebrate that. So
right.
celebrate all the wins because it should be a team environment, right? So whether you're not doing well today, but your teammate is, celebrate that. Don't be like the person's leading the team and I'm not, and like, you know, don't have that negativity.
Yeah, like that. All right. Thank you so much for coming on. I like to ask this question to wrap up and really just stitch together all the different guests' opinions about this question together. So, in your opinion, what does it take to be a good salesperson?
Ooh. Uh, Good salesperson. So you got to be, you've got to, know your product you're offering inside and out. I think that's a big thing. Secondly, you've got to believe in it because if you don't believe in it, how are you going to get somebody to hand over their money to you? So I think that's a big thing is you've got to believe in what you're selling in order to convey that to a prospect and get them to want to hand over money. The other thing is being a trusted advisor. That's a big aspect, I think, is conveying to this prospect, we are different because of all these reasons, and we're going to be your trusted advisor. Where some people they're just going to come and collect your money and move on, maybe meet with you at the end of the year to upsell you or renew or whatever the case is, but then you don't hear from them over the course of the year. Being that trusted advisor, checking in with them ongoingly, giving them your personal cell, giving them all the ways that they can communicate with you if something goes wrong, and making them feel like the number one priority if there is something going wrong, because then if they feel like that, they're going to want to be a raving champion for you, and they're going to let their network know, hey, I'm working with this company. It's not the company that I like working with. It's Martin or it's Matthew. Like
Right.
working with them, it's just the best experience I've had. So if you can do that, then I think that's what makes a good salesperson.
Love it. Love it. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate the conversation and the insights. How can people find you? How can people get in contact with you? What's the best medium?
Yeah, best way is on LinkedIn. You can search the Outbound Sales Guy and connect with me there. Follow, shoot me a message, whatever, however you want to get in touch with me. Always happy to connect, always happy to chat, answer any questions that you may have around outbound, around calling, what have you. If I don't get back to you, I'm not ignoring you. It's just it's a time issue.
Yeah.
um,
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it, like I said. And to everyone listening, hope you got something from this call and hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks for having me.